Hello everyone, it's me again, Steedoj, back with some more, well, it's different now, it's Dragon Ball The Breakers, and I wanted to talk fully about Dragon Ball The Breakers, the things about the survivors, the things about the raiders, the things about how it's actually linked to Xenoverse 2, and custom characters, and potential new things that could be added to the game. So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now, Dragon Ball Breakers, for lack of a better term, is like a Dragon Ball Dead by Daylight. You could call it like Dead by Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball by Daylight, who knows. It's more like that, where you have an element of hide and seek. You're super weak versus an omega powerful villain who could take you out with a lot of ease of use. Again, Dead by Daylight is quite a popular thing. If you don't have any other comparison, I guess you could compare it to Friday the 13th. I've seen a lot of people compare it to Predator Hunting Grounds as well, but that game is all about fighting each other. So I'd say it's more akin to Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th. Now, obviously, the gameplay features for the Raider, and they're specifically calling it the Raider for some reason. A lot of people think this is a Cell game. I didn't mean to make that joke, by the way. A lot of people seem to think it's like a Cell game, like Cell is the main villain or something. It's just like Cell is the most obvious like horror Dragon Ball character, which is why they use him for the marketing. If you haven't seen the cover, it does show Frieza and Kid Buu on it, mostly the Z villains. Again, I'm sure they'll add more people to it, and we'll get further into the characters I think they will add. But about the Raider is basically like, again, Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th kind of thing. You just chase the survivors down. Now, in all fairness, I think different Raiders have different mechanics, because Cell seems to start as like a bug that has to grow into its first form. I'm assuming the bug phase of Cell is more so a phase for the survivors to like start running away or like make some ground from like, you know, his time machine before Cell actually spawns into the game as his first form, and then he starts hunting people down. Because, you know, the larvae form of Cell doesn't really fight, so I'm assuming it's just set up. Again, the way I'm assuming it works with characters like Frieza is that maybe Frieza's like, I don't know, just flying to the stage, or he's like in his pod, and then when the gameplay starts, he'll be in first form, and so on and so forth. And for Buu, he'll be trapped in this like egg thing, and then Babidi will like, you know, get full power, and Buu comes out, and then first stage is like, you know, Fat Buu. And the Raiders do keep evolving. I should talk about that actually. Cell does start off in his first form, and they do say by like fulfilling certain conditions, you'll actually level up. That means every Raider does have a different condition, and it's not just a time-based thing. Eventually, you will have to do something to make yourself level up as a Raider. For Cell, it's very obvious what you need to do. You just absorb people. It seems like anyone counts, because Cell just absorbs random custom characters, and that's what makes him evolve. So I'm assuming you just eat enough people as Cell, and he'll evolve. Cell might be the easiest one because of that, because Frieza would need to transform naturally, because he already has his forms unlocked. And I'm not sure what Buu would have to do, but he'd have to like separate and do all of that weird stuff to turn into eventually Super Buu and Kid Buu. Now, when a Raider does get to full power, they can apparently take out every survivor in one fell swoop. I'm assuming what this means, and unlike the Kamehameha that we see in the trailer from First Form Cell, First Form Cell's Kamehameha is very big, don't get me wrong. It's like an entire city area. But I'm assuming once they get to their final forms, the perfect Kamehameha just kills everyone on the map, because, you know, the solar system will be destroyed by Cell's Kamehameha. And the same thing with Frieza destroying the planet with his Death Ball, and Buu destroying Earth with, you know, his Vanishing Ball. So that's actually something I'm really hyped to see, because it's just a really cool way to end the stage, like a really cool way for a time limit to reach its expiry. I think that's a very unique thing that Dragon Ball games have got going for them. They have like really unique ways to tackle things because of the way the villains are like. Even if you don't really like the characters the most in Dragon Ball, they work really well in a lot of scenarios. And a good example is if you watch any of Team 4-Star series, you could see how diverse or how much use or mileage they get out of Dragon Ball characters just by putting them in different scenarios. So this really cool Dead by Daylight scenario where the game actually ends if the villain reaches full power because they destroy the planet is really cool. Now, the survivors, they obviously, you know, survive, for lack of a better term. I will talk more about the different potential survivors I think being added to the game, but the two ones I want to talk about so far are the ones we saw in the trailer. Bomber and Oolong. Oolong obviously has the ability to transform into anything, so he actually turns the game into prop hunt as well as Dead by Daylight, which is quite funny. But obviously Oolong's transformation is only going to be as useful as the item you choose to transform depending on your location. For example, if you turn into like a plant pot in the middle of the street, you're just going to get like completely destroyed. And I'm assuming Bulma will be able to use Capsule Corp things to her advantage. I don't think we actually saw any Bulma gameplay or much Bulma gameplay, but I'm assuming she will be able to use Capsule Corp things to her advantage to, you know, increase her survivability out in the field. And then we have two others that are also on the cover. I don't think they showed any more, but they are custom characters. Now, the reason I say they're custom characters is that they have a very basic template design. It's so obvious that they're custom characters, and even if you just look at their hair on the male character, that is clearly a Xenoverse hairstyle, and we'll get into more about the Xenoverse custom character stuff. But custom characters, I believe, are the ones that will have the super unique features. like the Solar Flare and the Dragon Change, which I do want to talk about. Now, survivors obviously have stuff like escape tools. You've seen one of them. One of them was the Saiyan pod that Oolong was capable of using to avoid first cell, and a rocket launcher, which I think damages the Raider. I'm not sure if the Raider would be able to dodge this naturally or if you're just supposed to use it to save your friends. But even if you do use it to save your friends, you can see how quick the Raider does recover from being hit by a rocket blast. So you need to get up that lickety-split. Other escape tools are actually the Solar Flare, which is, again, I'm assuming that one will actually stun the Raider for a lot longer, because Solar Flare is really strong in the Dragon Ball universe. And then you also have things like vehicles, which I'm sure is meant for moving around faster, but I'm not sure how useful it would be when the Raider does see you, because it probably makes like noise or something, right? In Xenoverse 2, the vehicles make noises, so I assume in this game they will as well, because it's being made by the exact same people, Dimps. And the final thing is the Dragon Change. The Dragon Change will actually imbue you with the power of DBZ characters. So obviously, you know, people like Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, Piccolo, Gohan. I mentioned those guys because they're in the Cell Saga, so maybe you get the power-up that's relevant to the Raider you're fighting. Or maybe it's just any Z character as a power-up, which would still be cool. I would obviously like to use, you know, Krillin's Kienzon to face off the Raider. I'm not sure if you can actually kill the Raider doing this, or if it just stops them for a bit if you beat them in the fight. But either way, for people who do want the fighting in their Dragon Ball game, it's there, so don't complain too much. It's actually there. And the Raider's actual objective is to stop the survivors from getting to the Super Time Machine. Because when the survivors, I'm guessing, either build all the parts for it or find the Super Time Machine or whatever. I'm, again, like Dead by Daylight, I'm sure there's some generator mechanic. But yeah, once you have everything done, you can actually use the Super Time Machine to just head out. Multiple people can actually jump on the Time Machine. I've seen in the Goku Black Arc, where they jump on the side of it, and that's good enough to let them teleport out of there. I'm assuming the Time Machine does have a firing up sequence, because it kind of looks like it does. So even if you do get in the Time Machine, you can actually pick the selfish option of leaving everyone behind in order to make sure you make out alive. But I'm sure you get more XP and points and all that stuff for making sure you leave with as many people as possible. So sometimes risking destruction by the Raider's hand might actually be what you have to go for in exchange for, you know, bonus points, saving up for survivors, and, you know, all that good stuff. And now onto the linking with Xenoverse 2, because in the producer's message that they did release quite recently, he does mention the producer of the game, by the way, so this is all already confirmed and a fact. The game actually takes place in the same universe as Xenoverse. It doesn't take place in the same universe as Dragon Ball. Like, this isn't like, oh, what was actually going on during the Cell Saga. This is like a Xenoverse 2 timeline. So that would explain why characters like Oolong and like Young Bomber are there, because maybe in this timeline Cell is sent further back in time, so he can drain energy much sooner and become Perfect Cell and be stronger. Or an example being like, oh, I don't know, in this timeline, like some Red Ribbon Army characters or some classic World Tournament characters was thrusted into this timeline, and they're thrust in the same timeline as Majin Buu. Like, there's a lot of potential with making this in the same timeline as Xenoverse 2. Not to mention, again, you can actually link your save data with Xenoverse 2, and it's very obvious why you're doing that. It's because you can put your own custom characters in this game. Now, the question is, I don't know how many you can put in this game. I assume it's going to be Saiyans and Earthlings again, because, like, that's the most basic one. If you can actually put your Namekians and Margins in this, and even goddamn Freezers, that'd be really, really cool. And I'm hoping that's the case. But, you know, considering Saiyans are the ones who have been getting the transformations every DLC, and no other race has got any kind of love, I'm assuming it's mostly going to be Saiyans and Earthlings that can be transferred over with the save linking. But I'm actually very curious, because the Xenoverse 2 thing adds like a whole ocean of possibilities to the game. And for the people who keep crying about how they don't have a Xenoverse 3 and they really want a Xenoverse 3 and give me Xenoverse 3, don't make this game Xenoverse 3, it's fine, it's okay, don't worry about it. He actually did say that they're going to update both games because of, you know, their linking. And Dragon Ball The Breakers is probably going to get a ton of support at launch. I imagine it's going to get a lot of support. It's a new genre style, they're going to want to make sure they do it well, even if it may be Bandai and Dimps, and the last thing they made was Xenoverse 2, which got no support. I'm assuming they're going to want to really try with this genre, because it's a really good way to get new people playing Dragon Ball games that aren't just people who, you know, oh, I want to fight someone. It's a good thing for Dragon Ball in general that they just do this, that they kind of branch out and get as many people as possible. So they are going to update the Breakers a lot, and because of that, Xenoverse 2 will actually get updates as well. I'm very glad that Xenoverse 2 will be back in Bandai's crosshairs, because seriously, that game needs a lot of support, especially if it's a netcode. The fact that they use the first form Cell model and Perfect Cell model from Xenoverse 2, but the second form Cell model is not in Xenoverse 2. They didn't make a second form Cell for Xenoverse 2. So when this game drops, we'll actually probably get second form Cell in Xenoverse 2. And you know how Xenoverse 2 works. Second form Cell will probably be better than full power Cell, just because he released it later. So Xenoverse 2 will actually get new characters so long as Breakers gets new characters. And if Breakers updates any characters, then Xenoverse 2's characters are also going to get updated too. That might be another reason why Xenoverse 2 is actually getting 42 new custom mentors, because that's a lot of potential characters that they could add to Breakers or update in Breakers in any way, shape, or form. So again, I'm very curious as to what they do with the Breakers and Xenoverse 2 collaboration, because there's a whole heaping horde of amazing stuff for both games there. So I really want to know what new survivors could be added. Again, Hercule's a pretty obvious one. Maybe Jacko. Jacko's not really a fighter. There's a lot of really interesting... And again, unique survivors have their unique powers. Maybe Hercule will be able to, like, BS the raider by giving them, like, a box that, like, blows up. Or maybe candy that the raider, like, just eats to distract. While Hercule, like, runs away to buy time. They do look like they both have a lot of interesting mechanics and unique mechanics. So I'm very curious to see how it goes. Even when the Raider gets the full power, I guess it's not a guaranteed victory for them. Because you could see that in the end of the trailer, Oolong does pick up a rocket. I'm not sure how well that's going to work against Cell, but considering that they can make a sniper bullet that can kill Goku Black, it's probably A-okay. Again, do leave a comment down for anything that you think could potentially be in the game, because I'm very curious to see what you guys believe would be in the game, because now that I'm bringing up these possibilities, maybe other people who are more enlightened than me are gonna go, oh yeah, wow, that's a good point actually. Let me put my 2 cents in the comment section. And the more comments we can gather, the more we can actually help this community see that this is not a bad idea. A lot of people already for some reason hate this. There are more people who like it. I've seen an unfair amount of hate for this game just because people wanted Xenoverse 3, and it's being made by the people who made Xenoverse 2. So Xenoverse 3, it might not be a possibility still. It doesn't look like it's going to be a possibility anytime soon. But Xenoverse 2 is getting a massive amount of support just by Dragon Ball Breakers existing. So, again, leave a comment down below of what you think could be added to the game, because there's a lot of potential with Xenoverse 2. The potential survivors and the potential raiders. I think that would be very, very cool for this game. Now, obviously, the Breakers is, again, going to get a ton of support when the game comes out. So I'm curious as to what new villains and survivors could be added. I think the most obvious one I want to talk about first is in a game about exterminating a bunch of people who are running away from an extremely overpowered threat. Zamasu is the most obvious DLC character. If Zamasu isn't the first DLC, I'd be goddamn surprised, because he could start as Zamasu, turn into Goku Black or Rose Goku Black, and then end off as Fused Zamasu. Or maybe starts off as Zamasu, turns into Fused Zamasu, then Merged Zamasu. Corrupted Merged Zamasu, where he can then destroy everyone in one hit. I'm assuming he's the most obvious pick. Goku Black might be another character that just launches alongside him. Maybe it's like Goku Black with the Zamasu outfit, then Base Black, then Rose Black, who is the final form. It seems like they're doing it in 3 stages. So I guess Frieza will have first form, final form, then Golden or full power or something, who knows. And Buu obviously has Fat Buu, Super Buu, Kid Buu. You know, the really obvious ones. I do think another villain they could add is Broly. Broly is another very obvious candidate. Not for, you know, hunting people down per se, but more so for the fact that Broly did fight several people at the same time, and his whole end goal is like, Broly is like the most obvious character when you think of, I'm gonna blow up the planet with no difficulty and no concern for my well-being because I can tank the explosion. So Broly is a very obvious character to have as a raider. And for the survivors, again, they grabbed Oolong and Kid Bulma, so the scope for survivors is quite massive. But I'm assuming non-fighters are more likely for survivor roles than, you know, yeah. Again, I think that's a solid place to end the video, guys. So if you enjoyed the video again, please leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe, as it greatly supports the channel. And leave a comment down below of what you'd like to see next. I hope you all enjoyed, love you all, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, and peace.